Before we get into today's video, I just want to let you guys know that this video is for educational purposes only. Please remember to be kind to everybody everywhere, in your everyday life, in your home, in the grocery store, and especially in the comment section down below. Please do not show hate to anybody, anywhere. So good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody doing today? I hope you all are having an amazing day. I hope you all are having a wonderful week. I hope everybody is feeling good. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about a very interesting woman named Sarah. And Sarah's just got a story. I mean, she goes into the military. She's working with the intelligence agency. She's got husband after husband after husband. And some very just different types of things seems to surround Sarah. Before we get into it though, I did want to let you guys know, if you don't already know, hi, my name is Christina. I do have a second channel, which is Casually Christina. We just do things way more casually over there. I also have a Patreon. My Patreon's for 18 and up. And over there, we talk about more personal stuff. We go live over there. There's a $2 tier for all of the true crime stuff that cannot go onto YouTube due to their terms and policies. That goes over on my Patreon under the $2 tier. Just make sure you read the full about section and what each tier offers before you join. I am also on Instagram, Snapchat, and Facebook. And I'm also on Like to Know It. And Like to Know It is a platform where I post links to a lot of the things that I like and that I use and that y'all ask about. So cooking, cookware, makeup items, skincare, just all different types of things. A bicycle basket for my cat to ride in, just all the random things that y'all ask about or that I like. I post that on my Like to Know It. And so all of those platforms are linked down in the description box if you would like to come and check me out. So today we're going to talk about Sarah. And for most people that knew Sarah, she seemed to have everything together. She had men that loved her. She had beautiful children. However, there were some things in Sarah's beautiful life that were hidden from what other people could see. Now, speaking of hidden, that brings me to today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by June's Journey, which is a true crime mystery game that the tone of it is set back in the 1920s. June's Journey has a mixture of puzzles and clues for those of y'all that like to put the puzzle pieces together and try to figure out what's going on. Now, as a family, we really love to play the old school board game Clue, and we love it so much that my son actually just had a 1920s themed birthday party for his 13th birthday last month. And June's Journey is like a mobile game, which, by the way, you can play it on your mobile phone if you have iOS or an Android, and you can play it on PC. We play it on the mobile phone. So for us, June's Journey is like this mobile version of finding clues and finding the hidden items in the photos, but it's set in the 1920s theme. And when I play with my son Jaden, we always have little competitions to who can find the objects the fastest. If you want to play June's Journey, you can try it today for free by just clicking the link down in the description box. Yes, if you want to test out your detective skills by playing June's Journey, just click the link down in the description box or scan this QR code. Thanks, June's Journey. And let's just start at the beginning. Sarah Hartsfield was born and raised in rural Otterville, Missouri. Her family owned quite a bit of farmland there, and Otterville, Missouri is a very, very small town in Cooper County. Back in 2010, the population was only about 454 people, and the name comes from the nearby Otter Creek. And I looked it up to see if there was really otters in this creek, and it looks like yes, there is. So I was like, oh my gosh, is it Otter Creek because there's a ton of otters there? I don't know if there's still a bunch of otters there because articles that I found said that a lot of the otters had left, but still Otter Creek. Now, Sarah had a hard upbringing. When she was a preteen, her parents got a divorce after her biological father had just gotten released from prison. Her mother would go on to marry another man who became her stepfather, and he wasn't a very good guy either. He had a long criminal history himself. So Sarah was put into foster care. Her foster mother's name was Barb Stewart. They became very close, and this is pretty much like a miracle in my opinion. These types of things do happen, but maybe they're not as often as the other types of things that happen. When Sarah got put into Barb's home, according to Barb, she said that she was very happy to take Sarah in, and she knew that Sarah was going to end up having to go to counseling and stuff like that. So she was already prepared for any issues that Sarah may have and that would need to be addressed.
And so I was prepared for a troubled early adolescent going into teenhood situation. I tried to let her have a typical teenage, we'd go shopping, we'd buy clothes, we'd go on vacations, we'd go to the lake, she could go to dances, try to have normalcy.
Now, when asked, her foster mom said that she was never really disrespectful growing up. She would never get loud or argue back with her. She was never super rude. But the thing about Sarah that her foster mother noticed was that Sarah was very sneaky. She liked things her way as well. I mean, if she was told no, she would be quiet. She wouldn't argue about it, but she would find a way to get what she wanted. Now, being a teenager, Barb didn't think too much of this. Okay, well, she's not a disrespectful, rude teen, but she's sneaky. And so she just kind of chucked it up to like normal teenage stuff. In high school, Sarah was described by her best friend as absolutely boy crazy. She even giggled when she said this because she said that she was boy crazy as well. But when Sarah liked someone, you knew it. As a matter of fact, Sarah's best friend said that when Sarah had a crush on somebody, everybody better get out of the way. Sarah would in fact go on to marry her high school sweetheart in 1993. This was a man named Titus. Titus said that when he met Sarah, she seemed to be like a really nice person. They had a lot of things in common that they both loved to do, and she was just a blast to be around. When they got married, her foster family was heavily involved, and as a matter of fact, her foster father is the one that walked her down the aisle. However, things began to change between Sarah and Titus. Titus said that Sarah became extremely controlling, and Titus had even gone off for military training, and when he got back, he heard a lot of rumors that Sarah had not been faithful to him while he was gone. They ended up getting a divorce after less than just 3 years of marriage. But even though they were high school sweethearts, got married, and were married for less than 3 years, allegedly, Sarah could not let go of Titus, even after the divorce. This would later become a pattern for Sarah. Now, even though Sarah allegedly could not let go of her ex-husband Titus, he did, and he went on to marry a new woman. Titus said that one night he and his new wife noticed a strange smell coming from outside. So they went outside to see where it was coming from. This is when they saw Sarah running out of their property. Titus and his wife thought that it was super strange, so they started looking around to see what Sarah may have been doing. This is when they found gas splashed all over the side of their house and empty cans all around the house. They were shocked, to say the least. They could not believe that it seemed like Sarah may have been trying to set the house on fire, with them in it at that. So they called the police. Unfortunately, they weren't much help to them, and according to Titus, when he tried to get a restraining order against Sarah, the judge just wouldn't allow it. He said that it seemed like Sarah was always able to talk herself out of any kind of trouble. Now, friends that knew Sarah all said that she was extremely smart, very smart. She could be very charming, and she could make a great first impression. However, that wasn't really who Sarah was. She had a dark side, and that wouldn't really come to the surface until later when Sarah's fifth husband mysteriously passed away. 48-year-old Sarah's fifth husband was a 46-year-old man named Joseph Hartsfield. They met online and dated for about 3 months. Then they went on and got engaged and were married a month later on February 22nd of 2022. They were living in Houston, Texas together at this point, and Joseph's family was completely shocked by his quick marriage. I mean, again, they met online. They're talking online for 3 months, and then in 1 month, boom, engaged, boom, married, and his family is like, whoa, 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 wait, what happened? I mean, they liked Sarah, but they thought that the relationship was moving a little too quickly. They tried to be supportive anyways, though, and you can only imagine, like, for the family, like, they want to be happy for him, and everything about Sarah seems great. She's charming, she's smart, but they're like, man, it's just moving too fast.
And the women that he worked with kept trying to tell him, Joe, don't do it. It's too quick. I was going to sit down and talk to him before, you know, about all of it. And then he walks in and they're married.
However, by December of that same exact year, Sarah and Joseph's relationship was already falling apart. Sarah had been posting on Facebook that her husband had mommy issues, and she even told her daughter that she was done with Joseph. It is rumored that Joseph had been telling his family as well as his parents that he was actually starting to fear Sarah and was secretly planning a way out of the marriage. Joseph had already created a separate bank account, and he was trying to spend as little as time possible at home around her. He made plans to temporarily live with his family and told Sarah that he wanted a divorce. Sadly, just 4 days later, before Joseph could even get away, something completely unexpected happened. On January 7th of 2023, dispatch received a call from an ER nurse about a very suspicious illness. Joseph, who was a diabetic, was brought into the emergency room by ambulance for severely low glucose levels. Over the next week, Joseph's medical team did everything that they possibly could do to save him. However, sadly, on the 8th day, Sarah made the decision to pull the plug and Joseph passed away. He was then sent in for cremation. Now, this seemed just like so unexpected at this point. Like he was already preparing to leave her, had a separate bank account, speaking with his family. He told her he indeed wants a divorce. 4 days later, he's rushed into the ER. The ER cannot get his glucose under control for some reason. He is being kept alive by the machines. Sarah decides 8 days later, just pull the plug. And then his family sees this emotional video that Sarah posts on Facebook.
On January 15th, Joe died. This video from inside as Sarah wept over his hospital bed, shared publicly on Facebook.
I thought it was a woman who really loved her husband, but I was shocked that someone videoed it. There's no way in hell I would want someone videotaping me in my darkest moments of sorrow.
I shook my head and I didn't quite feel it.
I had so many different feelings because I thought, what did he go through? Was he in pain?
Now, Joseph's family thought it was really weird what Sarah had been posting. It's like they couldn't quite put their finger on it because she seemed so emotional in the video, but it was almost like she was not sad about Joseph. It was like she wanted the attention of being a widow. After receiving concerning information from the medical staff that were treating Joseph in the hospital, investigators decided that they were going to start an investigation into Joseph's death. During the investigation, this is when they found out that Joseph had actually been wearing a glucose monitor that was connected to an app on his phone as well as Sarah's phone. This app would actually send them notifications if Joseph's blood sugar got too high or it got too low. So again, this really shouldn't have happened because he had the watch and he would have gotten the notification and she would have gotten the notification. As the investigators continued to dig into Joseph's glucose levels, the history of it in this app, this is when they saw that Joseph's app had been sending notifications to Sarah all night long before he was eventually taken to the hospital the next morning. His blood sugar was at its lowest like 4 to 6 hours before Joseph was even brought to the hospital. This made the investigators wonder why Sarah hadn't called 911 earlier. When they went to her and they asked her, Sarah said that she must have just slept through the notifications. She said that she wasn't feeling well and she had fallen asleep on the couch that night. The investigators then went in and decided to search the entire home. This is when they found 10 insulin syringes next to Joseph's side of the bed. And as you can imagine, the investigators became very suspicious of Sarah, and they decided to start digging into Sarah's past. But they had no idea what they were going to uncover. Investigators found out that Sarah not only had been married 5 times, but that she had lived in 39 different homes and that she had been engaged at least one other time. And almost all of her exes said that Sarah had made them afraid for their lives. So let's talk about Sarah's previous relationship. Now, remember, Joseph was her 5th husband, and we already talked about what happened with her and Titus, her first husband from high school. After Sarah's divorce from Titus was finalized, Sarah began dating Titus's best friend, Michael. This marriage was even shorter and also ended in divorce after Sarah went to jail for assaulting him. Then in 1997, Sarah joined the Army. Now, when her foster mother was asked about this, she said she was completely shocked. Like, Sarah in the Army? When Sarah went in, she was initially a motor transport operator before she ended up being moved up to intelligence analyst. And at this point, she had a top security clearance. People that worked with her has since given interviews and said that she was brilliant at what she did. She even ended up becoming a sergeant first class before she retired after 20 years. Her career is what brought her to Fort Wainwright in Alaska. At this posting, this is where Sarah would meet her 3rd husband, Christopher Donahue. He too was in the military at this point, and Sarah and Christopher would go on to have 4 children together. They had 3 daughters and 1 son. Now, according to this son of hers, he said that his mother, Sarah, was unbelievably controlling and that she was abusive. So much so that CPS was called out to check on him and his sisters more than once. But nothing ever came of their visits. Her son also said in an interview that Sarah would tell her little ones that no one was ever going to believe them or that she did anything wrong because of her position in the military. Now, as the kids grew up and got older, they didn't want to have anything to do with Sarah. Now, when Sarah and Christopher were together, they made a home in Texas near Fort Hood military base. And y'all know the rumors about Fort Hood. If anybody who's watching this from Fort Hood, shout out to y'all. But the rumors there's a lot of them, okay? Now, both of them, Sarah and Chris, were both stationed there. And again, there were rumors that Sarah had been unfaithful. Sarah had also been quite aggressive towards Christopher. So even though the two of them are having this rocky marriage, rumors that she's being unfaithful, she's being aggressive to this husband, something out of the blue happened. In 2015, it is said that Sarah's biological father became sick. Remember in the beginning we talked about this, that when he got out of prison, he got a divorce from her mom. Her mom married this other guy that wasn't a great guy. She ended up going into foster care. Okay, so this is the guy we're talking about, her biological father. So he became very, very sick. So she invited him to come and live with them. She said that she would take care of him even though he had treated her horribly when she was younger. Now, to a lot of people, this seemed completely strange, and especially with knowing Sarah and how she was. I mean, now she wants to take care of this biological father that treated her horribly when she was younger, and she's going to move him in with them, and she's going to take care of him. Nobody could understand it. It didn't really seem like a Sarah thing to do. But nevertheless, they pushed it out of their minds and accepted it until after only being in Sarah's care for 3 days, y'all, Sarah's biological father passed away. Now, this seems oddly coincidental and very suspicious. Sarah's daughter claims that she remembers seeing Sarah give her father, which was Sarah's daughter's grandfather, countless of pills before his passing. She also remembers seeing her grandfather coughing and clenching his chest, and then he just passed away. However, according to Sarah, all she did was give him the medicines that he was prescribed, and that He just passed away from natural causes. And if all of these things are not strange enough, things would continue to keep getting worse from here. There was a fire at Sarah's grandmother's house after an inheritance dispute between her and her brother Cody. See, Sarah's grandmother had passed away in August of 2014. After the grandmother's passing, Sarah and her family went back to her childhood home in Missouri to attend the funeral. After the service, Sarah was told that she would not be receiving any inheritance and that everything was left to her older brother Cody. Now, when I say everything, I mean that there was hundreds of acres of land, the family home, and everything that was inside it. Cody was actually the one that had cared for his grandmother before she passed, and everyone thought that it was only right for him to inherit everything. Again, Sarah was nowhere to be found. The brother is the one doing everything for his grandmother, okay? However, Sarah, allegedly, she didn't take no for an answer. She did not care what everybody else had to say. She was going to fight for what she believed was rightfully hers, which to me is so weird, okay? She even showed up to the house with a U-Haul truck and started just loading it up with whatever she wanted. That same night, the house was fully engulfed in flames. Everyone made it out alive, thank God, but the house and everything inside of it was completely gone and destroyed. The fire marshal said that the cause of the fire was undetermined, but he did say that when he talked to Sarah just after the fire, he noticed that she had a rash that looked like it was from poison ivy on her face. The back of her grandmother's property was completely full of poison ivy. Now, Sarah claimed that she had nothing to do with the fire, but it's pretty suspicious, especially when you think about the first husband, Titus, and his wife, having that weird smell in the house, coming outside and seeing her running and finding all those gas cans and the gas splashed up on the house. After that, Sarah went home to Texas to her husband, Christopher, where she continued to have more affairs. One of her relationships to a man named Brian was a long-distance relationship that actually lasted, I think, over 2 years. During their relationship, Sarah kept telling Brian that she was about to get a divorce, but it just never happened. So she's I'm about to leave him. It's going to be final. But she never divorced him at this point. So Brian just got sick of waiting for her, and he decided to break it off with Sarah. Now, it wasn't a clean break, though. They both ended up getting protective orders against each other.
If I didn't answer a text, she'd send an email or Facebook message me. If I didn't respond quick enough because I'm at work to one of her questions, she would just go ballistic. Whenever she got mad, it was like World War III. I mean, she absolutely went ape.
Now, Brian has since said after they broke up, one night when he was out at a bar, he got a call from a police officer informing him that his house was on fire. He's never been able to confirm for sure whether or not Sarah set the fire, but I'll leave that up for y'all to decide. Now, Sarah, of course, moved on to the next man like it was nothing. The next man was her fiancé, David Bragg. He was a former Air Force mechanic, and he was a father of 2, and he had 7 siblings. On May 9th of 2018, sheriffs in Garfield, Minnesota responded to a DV situation where shots ended up being fired. When they arrived on the scene, this is when they found David, the new fiancé, deceased from a gunshot wound to his heart. When asked what happened, Sarah said that yes, she shot him, but in self-defense. Sarah would go on to tell the investigators that David was completely upset because Sarah's daughter had a visit with her father, Christopher, for her birthday. Now, this visit was allegedly not a part of Christopher's regular scheduled visits. Sarah was just going to allow her daughter to go be with her father for an extra day or weekend. Sarah said that David got so irate and jealous, and he just blew up on her when she showed up at the house to pick up clothes for her daughter. However, Sarah said that she went into the house with 2 guns. She said that she didn't want to leave them in the car with her children, so she just decided to bring them inside with her. Now, it's not clear why she had these 2 firearms in the car with her to begin with. However, she went on to say that when she went inside, David confronted her and they got into a physical altercation. She said that David overpowered her and grabbed one of her guns from her and fired at her. Sarah said just like in a complete reaction, she fired back. And after an 8-month investigation, the sheriff's office cleared Sarah from any wrongdoing. Now, David's family, completely devastated, said that David was not a violent man. They even said that David had been wanting to break up with Sarah, and so maybe that's what set her off. Sarah's daughter says that at the time, she thinks Sarah had been wanting to get back together with her ex-husband, Christopher, and needed David out of the picture. Christopher, however, had already remarried at this point, and he wanted absolutely nothing to do with Sarah.
If she could not stage a shooting as self-defense, oh, of course she can. Come on, it's her skills, training, attention to detail.
I don't believe that if he had intended to shoot that he would have missed. And I don't believe from his background and his understanding of weaponry that he even would have, because the kids were on the other side of her.
I know my mom went in there, like, ready to do something.
There are a bunch of holes, I feel, in that story, and once we, learned everything about it, we all were like, no, this is incorrect.
Now, again, at this point, this is the investigators, like, looking into Sarah's history because of what happened with Joseph at the hospital as a diabetic, okay? When they went from this situation with David, they found that 6 months after being cleared of any wrongdoing, Sarah got married to a new man named David George. Now, David George worked for a gas company and met Sarah when he came to her house to do some work. He ended up moving into this same house that her and her other ex, David, lived in. Then in 2021, Christopher and his new wife actually took Sarah to court, claiming that Sarah and this new David George, had plotted to have David, her new man, kill Christopher's new wife. See, Sarah had been withholding the children from Christopher, so Christopher had said that he was going to try to get custody from her. Christopher has said that he thinks that Sarah planned to kill his new wife so that he'd be too distracted to move forward with trying to get custody of the kids. He even claims that David George, again, Sarah's newest husband at this point, told him himself that Sarah gave him a gun and said, "Don't come home until it's done." David George did go to Arizona, where Christopher and his new wife were living, and pretended to be a flower delivery person at their door. And they couldn't deny it because this interaction was caught on camera.
A couple of years into their marriage, in April 2021, disturbing allegations involving the couple got the attention of the FBI and local police. Christopher Donahue, Sarah's third ex-husband, filed for a protective order after learning that Sarah allegedly wanted her new husband to travel to Arizona to kill his new wife. The reason? So that I would be too busy dealing with the death to focus on fighting for my girls anymore, Donahue wrote in an application for a protective order.
Yes, hello? Yeah, I have some flowers for Donahue's.
This is David George actually showing up at his house with a bouquet of roses a few months before the plot was discovered.
No card or anything?
Let me check and see if I still got it.
But he never came back with a card. Donahue watched him drive away in a black car, which Sarah allegedly had him buy to drive to Arizona to carry out the hit.
When questioned, David George said, I didn't have a or anything when I went to the door. I was just there, delivering the flowers. And then he completely retracted the whole conversation about Sarah wanting him to off Christopher's new wife. And because of this, no charges were ever filed. It was just basically he said, or hearsay. Sarah went on to file for divorce after this, probably because allegedly she told him don't come home until the job is done, and the job wasn't done, so she divorced him. After this, Sarah ended up losing full custody of her children, and she was told not to contact them or Christopher anymore. Now, after all of that, this is when Sarah met Joseph, the guy that we talked about in the beginning, the man with the low glucose levels that passed away. And when you hear about that whole history right there, and you think about her meeting Joseph, it's like Joseph had no idea what was coming. He was just a guy that was meeting this very charming, extremely smart, 20 years in the intelligence agency of the military. She ticked all these amazing boxes, but he had no idea the type of woman that he was getting ready to bring home. After the investigators collected all of this information, they were afraid that Sarah was going to run. So they went and got an arrest warrant, and they arrested her even though they did not have a confirmed manner of death from the medical examiner's office yet on Joseph. They charged Sarah with first-degree murder, and they held her on a $5 million bond. Now, Sarah pled not guilty and said that she had absolutely nothing to do with Joseph's passing. In March of last year, as of me filming this, 2023, law enforcement convened a panel of medical doctors to review Joseph's autopsy findings. The panel agreed that Joseph's death was caused by too much insulin, but they still could not determine a manner of death, meaning they could not say that the too much insulin in his body was indeed from homicide, from those 10 syringes that was found on the side of his bed. In the meantime, Sarah's lawyer was able to get Sarah's bond reduced from $5 million to $2 million, but Sarah is still in custody at this point. She doesn't have the $2 million to get out, and she doesn't have one of her 5 husbands that's willing to come and help her. Now, Sarah's biological father's death investigation has since been reopened, as well as David Bragg's investigation. It's also come to light that investigators may be looking into the death of David George's girlfriend, Rebecca. She passed away literally just before David George got with Sarah. How weird is that? Rebecca's family says that they think that her death was suspicious. The sheriff's department also said that David George's house burnt down right before he moved in with Sarah. There are also some questions about Sarah's little brother's death.
In 1990, when Sarah was living with Barb's family, her 10-year-old biological brother still lived with their mother. He was playing with a nylon dog leash on the front porch when he apparently fell off the porch. The leash got stuck on the stair railing. Their mother found him face down, leash around his neck, after hanging there for at least 10 minutes, strangled, dead, when he arrived at this hospital in Sedalia, Missouri.
It was supposedly an accident, is what we were told. I remember her having to go to that funeral and just being pretty devastated.
Investigators ruled it an accidental death, acknowledging the bizarre nature of it. A county caseworker even noted their mother showed no emotion over the loss of her son. And follow-up reports showed discrepancies in the story. 33 years later, the Cooper County Sheriff's Office in Missouri reviewed the case, but found no evidence that shows it needs to be reopened.
Which to me is so disturbing and strange. I don't know if she was there or if her mother had something to do with it or if it was just a complete freak accident. But if she had anything to do with that, even that young, whoa. I mean, how many fires can you have around you in this period of time? Just the fires that were set to all these people's homes. I mean, it's like so unbelievable. Now, Sarah has since given a statement. She's completely claiming her innocence.
She loved texting, and I quickly found out that was true. She gave us her first public statement, denying the allegations, professing her love for Joe, and writing in part, "It's about time I quit being vilified by his family and by the public. I never deserved how I was treated, and Joe, our relationship, our marriage, our story ended way too soon and not by any wrongdoing."
Only on 2 tonight, for the first time, we are hearing from the woman accused of murder in Chambers County.
She saw that story from jail, and that's when more messages flooded in. When I checked my phone in the morning, it took about an hour to read everything she said. My story and the truth have me walking out of this jail free of all the false accusation I've been subjected, in addition to what is seriously character assassination on a nationwide level. She told me to quit the type of journalism found in grocery rags and be a reporter with class and dignity. She said if she's guilty of anything, it's picking horrible husbands.
And a trial date has not been set yet, but it's supposedly going to be, and I really do not see her pleading out. I see Sarah, by the public information that is already out there, and mind you, this video is alleged. I don't know any of these people, so go do your own research, form your own opinion. But from the information that I could find, the picture that I have of Sarah, I do not see her laying down. I see her fighting this all the way. Wow, though, how one woman has moved through life and all of this destruction and her not be guilty of anything. Scary. Like the Black Widow. What do you think? Have y'all heard about this? I think the silver lining in this is the fact that Christopher got custody of his kids and they have been able to build a life away. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Other than that, I love y'all. Remember to really do your best to get to know people. It's hard because people can put on many faces. Be careful out there. I hope y'all have a great weekend, and I will see y'all in the next video. Love you guys. Bye. Thanks again to June's Journey for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to scan the QR code or click the link down in the description box to start playing today.